Hi, I'm Southampton Town Supervisor Jay Schneiderman, and welcome to Talk of the Town, where we take a close look at issues affecting our community, and we meet some of the people who help address some of the issues. Today we're here with Steve Troyd. He is our Town Code Compliance and Emergency Management Administrator. You know, as I had to look at my paper,
Yes.
that is a long title.
That's one big business card.
Right, it sure is. It's Troyd, you know, that's a pretty short name, Steve Troyd. But now, we've had you on the show before.
Yes.
And you are in charge of ordinance enforcement, code enforcement, which is probably one of the biggest concerns in our community.
Yes.
People are always calling my office about issues, from the barking dog next door to the really loud party at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
To, you know, all the things that, you know, it could even be just a bright light that the neighbors put up and it's blaring, you know,
Right.
shining right on their property, and they can't sleep at night now
I think
because
the parties are going to start very soon.
yeah, well, it's that time of year. They're coming
It is.
back.
It's the
right?
summertime.
So your department must be ramping up right now.
Yes, we are. We're getting prepared. We've hired another code enforcement officer, and we're moving someone to a part-time code enforcement officer position so that we have enough personnel. We're scheduling the weekend shifts for the summer, making sure we have everything covered, and you know, I'm looking forward to the experience.
Yeah, good. So you've been here, what, not a year yet? It's,
No, I came in September, so it's approximately
October, right.
Yeah, September 18th, I think I started, and so I've been here approximately 7 months.
And how are you finding it?
I love it. I love
It's
it.
a lot different than the FBI. You were what?
It's very different, but
30
the
years at the
people
FBI?
the people are good, just like the people in the FBI. I've had a very good experience with the employees here in the town.
That's good. And you're doing more than just ordinance enforcement. You're also heading the fire marshal's office.
Yes.
And the animal control.
Mm-hmm.
And you're working on public safety issues in general,
Yes,
right? So,
that's a big push here at Town Hall.
yeah, so you know, we hear in the news about these crazy acts of violence.
Right.
Not only terrorism, that's one, you know, these shooters, these active shooters. You know, but we've also seen, you know, other type of incidences in workplaces. I know this is a concern of yours, to make
Yes.
sure that the town employees are safe.
Yes, I'm actually the chair of the Workplace Violence Committee now, and part of that, combined with my security responsibilities, I'm looking at enhancing the security here at Town Hall. We've taken some concrete steps, and when I say we, I mean there's several departments in Town Hall working together. The facilities management and IT and myself and code enforcement. We've put a beautiful new desk at the front of Town Hall entrance where we have a security officer who's going to be there during operating hours for Town Hall. We're going to have a new computer system where we can swipe people in with their IDs. It's going to be a requirement that people present government IDs, photo IDs.
I see you have yours on, right?
I see.
I should
We've
be wearing
implemented
mine.
this as part of our protocol here at Town Hall. All the employees
So
are
every
wearing theirs.
employee now has a tag that
Yes,
identifies.
or I will tackle them.
Right.
That's my plan.
I'm looking around to make sure that, yeah, look, we got our crew.
Everyone is wearing their
Everybody's
badge.
got their name tag. That's great. So, so is the rollout successful? I know we have for the first
Yeah.
time, we have a guard.
Yes, she came in today. I met with her. She's a wonderful person. She has a tremendous personality. I think she fits here very well. She knows several employees here. She's a former Southampton resident. And she's just got this way about her. People come in and they're not sure about this new system where they have to present ID, and she's very good with people, and she's convincing them of the benefits, and they're actually thanking her by the time it's over, because they realize how beneficial this is to the town, to the employees, to our visitors and guests, everybody. She's watching their back now.
Now, how long does it take to check in now?
Right now, we're implementing the computer system, so we're waiting, probably Thursday, it should be like 6 seconds when we swipe the card, swipe the driver's license, and print up a sticker to give them to wear to whatever department they're going to. So right now, we're still doing it the old-fashioned way, and it's not even that long. It's maybe 12 seconds.
Okay.
She has the person coming in to visit, they sign their name, tell us what department they are, she looks at their ID, she fills out the badge. So they're working together to expedite the situation, and it's working really well. And she's, like I said, she has a really good personality that I think makes her a good part of Town Hall.
Are there any other measures we're doing here at Town Hall to protect our employees?
Yes, actually, we've applied for a grant. We're looking to put camera enhancements. We have cameras in Town Hall. We're looking to improve them and modernize them. So we have a grant that we applied for. With facilities maintenance, we've also started looking at the doors to put in access control systems and change some of the doors around the building. And that'll be for the benefit of everybody here.
Okay. So now the person at that desk would be monitoring the video camera screens?
Yes, at the desk is going to house the badge pass system, which allows us to scan the document, swipe the document, or photograph the individual and input the information ourselves. So there's a combination of things you can do. Should someone come and not have their ID, but they have an appointment that we can confirm, we would allow them to take a photo and then issue them a badge with that information that's confirmed. We also have the camera system that'll be at the desk, and some other things that, we don't want to give up all of our security protocols. We want to make sure that we can react the way we have to when the time comes.
Has there been any pushback from any of the employees that don't like to wear the tags?
I see some
think it's
people,
necessary?
it's not pushback, but they're sad that it's like a bygone era where people could just come and go as they pleased. And,
Sure.
that's not something we can afford to do anymore.
Any pushback from the public that now have to get screened?
No, when they forget to bring their ID, I can see they're disappointed that they may have to go back. But
Sure.
we make an accommodation. If it's somebody that we've seen before, I'll escort them to whatever office they're going to.
Are we checking their bags or no?
No, we're not doing that yet. We reserve the right to do that, but I haven't seen anyone really come into the building with anything suspicious at
So
this
it's really
time.
just we want to know who's here and where they're headed?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can implement that if we have a big event and we have a lot of people coming from outside the town and we don't know who they are. I think that's something we would want to do. We're going to have contingency plans. We're going to put all this into a policy that we'll share with the department heads and the security personnel.
Now, what made you decide that we needed to implement a policy like this?
I think, well, first when I interviewed here, I came from a culture of security, and in the FBI over 30 years, it went from we were securing the material we worked with to we were securing the personnel. So I saw it develop from everyone had one code to everyone had individual codes and man traps and special, things that we implemented to protect ourselves. And I came here for the interview, and I walked straight through the building, and I was surprised, that this still existed here. What you see, though, across the island, across the country, with the active shooters that are going on and the problems people have, people are ramping up their security efforts. And I can tell, as we're implementing things and we're trying to acquire the materials for security, it's getting hard to find them because people are buying all these things, the supplies, the stickers, the labels, everything related to security is becoming short at this time because people are all implementing these plans. And I think we have to be consistent with what's going on around us and make sure that we're secure. And it serves another purpose. It's security, but also should something happen in the building, we can check and make sure that people came here are safe. Like, now we know you were here, so we're going to make sure we make that phone call or send a police officer to check the house where you live and make sure that you got out of the building, and everything was fine. And interesting enough, today we had 200 visitors by 3:30, and we have at least another 100 people minimum coming into the building tonight for a meeting. So this is a busy place. There are a lot of people using this facility.
Now, I know we've implemented some other public health equipment policies, like we have AEDs on, I think, 1 or 2 floors now of this building, right? These are those automatic defibrillators. Electronic, because I think that's what the E is for, defibrillators. So if somebody's having a heart attack, we're able to hook the apparatus up.
And we have quite a few personnel who are EMS certified. I'm sending another one of my code enforcement officers to update her certifications. She's part of the hazmat team, so that's a benefit there, and just having her in town hall should something happen. And we did have an incident where people were able to render aid and help an individual, and it was good. It was good to see how that worked,
That's great. So let's talk about ordinance enforcement, because I know that's a big piece of what you do. And I know you are very organized, so you've been collecting data
Yes.
and reporting to the town board on different types of violations, housing code violations, or noise code violations, those kinds of things. So, since you've been here, what are you seeing? Are we seeing more compliance? Are we seeing more of any particular type of violation?
I would say we're seeing more enforcement, and we are seeing compliance. The goal here is compliance. It's education, compliance through education. This is not a money-making enterprise where we're trying to, cash in on people's problems. If they have problems, we're even willing to help them resolve those problems because it's about having a quality of life, safety, and health. And that's what we're trying to achieve. There's some things you can't give people warnings on. There's behaviors that they have to be summoned for, but that's different. But if it's your home and your home is in disrepair and it's because you're having financial difficulties, we have someone that's actually working with the community to try and help those people bring their homes up to compliance and help them out in times of need.
I noticed in the data, since you've arrived in September, October, the number of notices of violation and the number of field appearance tickets, I believe, went up substantially. I think
Yes.
in many cases doubled.
Yes, in some instances they did double.
Yeah, which
Yes.
is, I think, is real.
I'd say at the
testament
end
to
of
your
the
leadership
last
ability.
quarter and in the first quarter, things have been on the uptick. But it's kind of a thing where you have to understand the more you enforce and the more compliance you gain, the less you'll be summonsing and giving NOV. So, and the way you approach the situation, in one instance during the Christmas season and the holiday season, we decided we would write letters rather than run out and disturb people. So we gave them, a warning that we were coming to the community to do some housing inspections. And, we had the NOVs kind of went down, but then when we actually did do the inspections, the NOVs went up, and we did gain compliance in advance. Some people came to the office and they were, asking questions how they could fill out their applications, which the application process at that time was very difficult, and now we are streamlining it. We're working very hard with the town attorney's office and with, my experienced code enforcement officers to maybe take some of there were 12 pages to this thing.
You're talking about the rental permit?
Oh, I'm sorry, did I say code permit? Rental permit.
Okay.
So, we're working very hard to streamline the rental permits, and it was 12 pages at one time.
So a lot of people were renting without
Yes,
rental
they're
permit.
renting without rental permits, or there's an overcrowding situation,
Uh-huh.
they're renting to too many people. There are criteria within the rental law. For instance, if there are 4 individuals who are not related by blood living together, there's a presumption that they're not family, a rebuttable presumption. So they can appeal to the license review board if we do summons them, and they can explain why they are a family that fits that criteria.
Okay.
So.
So you're taking that 12-page form and turning it into a 4-page form?
4
or
pages,
less?
and we're trying to get it online, and we're trying to turn this thing into what it should be for modern day code enforcement operation and rental permits. We just spoke to IT today. We're trying to get it so that when the code enforcement officer finishes a safety inspection, because that's the purpose. Purpose is to go to the house and make sure that the electrical is fine, the building is fine, the fire safety is fine. We'll make sure people don't get hurt. And once that's done, that inspection is completed, we're going to have the code enforcement officer email the permit to the owner of the house.
That's
and,
great.
And that cuts days off waiting to print
And
things
now
up.
it's a
mail
2-year
them.
permit? Is that?
It's a 2-year permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not too expensive, right? It's what,
No, it's like $200 for the permit.
$200 for
maybe
the 2 years. I
For the
think.
2 years, maybe $150 if you're a senior citizen. I think if you're a disabled vet, maybe it's $100. There's different criteria, but it's not expensive at all. And it's something you should do to make sure that your home is safe and the people that rent from you are safe.
Sure.
That's the whole point of this thing. It's not about a revenue generator. It's about making sure we don't have house fires and people getting sick from mold and things like that.
Sure. Now, last year we implemented a new system we called Southampton Online Solutions, I
Yes.
think. It's SOS.
SOS.
And it's a computer-based or phone-based. You can go through, I guess, the town's website, or if you have a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a code enforcement concern. That's one of the categories. You can
Right.
basically take a picture of it or write up what the concern is.
It's got a lot of functionality to it.
Right. It's like drop-down menus where
Mhm.
you can, if it's a housing code violation, there might be a certain type of violation. So, and you can do this anonymously. So
Yeah.
if you have an issue with a property or whatever it might be,
Right.
and you think somebody is not following the law, you can go onto this program or download the app, and you can then enter it into the system,
Mhm.
and then you see it on your computer screen.
I'll get an email.
You'll get an email.
Yeah, all my officers get emails, and they'll see when something's in their area of responsibility. They'll address it, and we'll look through to see how things are progressing, and we'll follow up with them. And usually they're very responsive. I think we've been very successful with the system, and I encourage people to use this more and more. I think it's a great communication tool. I know they can be anonymous, but we're not telling anybody who you are. We'd like to talk to you if there's an issue. If we want to make sure that we understand what the issue is, if there are questions we have to follow up, there's no retribution. We would like to talk to you. They are our constituents, and we want to
Sure.
make sure that they're happy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are using that system.
It's really
And what's
exploded.
interesting is each complaint, I'll call it complaint, it's a request,
Yeah,
concern, it appears on a map in a
Right.
different color. So
Yes.
they don't see it, the public doesn't see it, but my office sees it.
Mhm.
And we can look and say, okay, somebody complained 2 weeks ago about a particular situation, and nobody's responded to it.
right.
And then we could follow up. We can call that department head and say, we've noticed that you have these several complaints here that
Right.
don't seem to have been addressed. And then they'll get on it.
Yeah,
and they'll
and
take
it's
care
not
of it
just for
too.
code enforcement. It's for a
Right.
few different things.
So they
And-
change colors. So as it goes from red to yellow to green.
To green.
So if it's green, I know that it's been fully addressed.
Mhm.
And then after a couple weeks, it disappears from the map entirely.
Right.
The yellow, it's in process. So I know that somebody has gotten back to the person who made the complaint and let them know the status of it.
Right.
So that's good. I
Yeah.
think it's a
I think
really helpful tool.
what I'm proud of is at times we get these complaints and my people are already addressing them in real time. So they're being proactive. They're going out there and they're looking for these issues and trying to.
That's really
to resolve.
important because
Yeah.
sometimes people think it's only the squeaky wheel that gets the oil, right? That
Right.
town is never going to do anything about it unless I complain.
Mhm.
Or if my neighbors don't complain, I'll get away with this,
Right.
I'm going to get away. And that's not necessarily the case.
No,
So,
we have a lot of patrol pickups.
yeah.
We have we get some from the police department, some from our own efforts, and my guys are out there on a regular basis. And
Because we want to protect the neighbor that isn't the complainer just as much as the one that is.
right. I try to be even-handed with
Right.
everything. Sometimes there's animosity between the people from years of, maybe something happened in the past, and I want to address their issues. If there's legitimate complaints, like a hole in a fence that's unsightly, yeah, I want that to be fixed. I don't want it to become an issue of blight in the community.
Right. You have actually somebody in your office, she's been on the show, Tia, who most of her job relates to these blighted properties,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
What they call the zombie homes.
The zombie grants, yeah,
Yeah.
zombie home grant.
Right. So these are property maybe that they seem like they're abandoned, right? The lawn is
Mhm.
this high. We just did a show about Lyme's disease and tick-borne
Oh, boy.
illnesses. So
Yeah,
you really don't want the lawn to
No,
be this
that
high.
frightens me.
Yeah, that's not necessarily good for preventing Lyme's disease. But the house goes into disrepair. I mean, sometimes we end up with situations where a house becomes dangerous, like it could
Sure.
collapse on somebody.
Yeah,
I know you work in those situations with the town attorney's office. And,
yes.
the town has the power to remove a structure if it needs to.
Right.
Of course, we hold a public hearing. We make every effort possible to get the homeowner to secure the building.
Right.
But there have been times where we have had to actually remove a structure because it was just too dangerous. Somebody could get hurt. Kids,
Kids play in houses all the time.
they go in there and
And then,
you don't want a roof collapsing on someone.
right.
So,
Absolutely. God forbid they're in a basement or, they're playing around. It's just not a good environment.
Now, have you had surprises since you've been here? Have things you've encountered that you weren't expecting? Anything unusual?
No, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised, but not so surprised. But I see how people here work together. It's really, there is a sense of community in Town Hall, and having been a case agent for many years and driven to do my things myself, I have to remind myself that I have a team and I bring them in. They all want to participate, and they're all fantastic. So I get a lot of input and a lot of help from people, and it's been an absolute pleasure working here.
Now, you have people who work on weekends. You have people
Yeah.
who work late at night. So some people think, oh, it's the weekend. I'll get away with it now.
No.
I can do it.
No, we're gearing up for the summer, and they'll be out
Right.
there on the weekends, and we're going to be there during the daytime, the nighttime. We'll be enforcing things. We're purchasing an octave band meter, which will measure bass. So, a lot of times when we measure decibels, it's not a violation, but the people are really complaining about the bass because that's what they feel in their chest when they're in their living room or they can't sleep at night. And so we decided to invest in that so that we could enforce those noise codes.
Yeah, and it's, as you said earlier, it's not like we're out to get you.
No.
That's not.
No.
What we're trying to make it so that everybody can enjoy their properties.
Right.
Right? So that
Right.
one person's fun isn't at the expense of another person's fun.
Right.
And I think that we can all enjoy life out here in the Hamptons without overly impacting our neighbors.
I
But
think so, too.
every once in a while you do run into somebody who really takes advantage of the situation. They take a house, they pack it with, partiers
Right.
for the weekend, and there's cars everywhere and loud music
Prom
blasting.
parties.
And yeah, and they're making a quick buck, and it's really just not right.
Right, they're exploiting the system.
They're
in a sense.
exploiting the system, and I imagine there's a couple people you encounter over and over again who
Oh yeah, there's recidivists.
who do this.
Yeah,
right. They just don't want to
definitely,
comply with the law.
And we go after them pretty hard, and we've put people in jail.
That's really surprising.
That's incredibly
really,
surprising.
For violating the town code, people would think, oh, nobody would ever go to jail for that. They'll pay their $50. They don't, though. First of all, it's not $50. Some of the
Right.
fines are $1,000.
It's as much as the rent that they made
right.
in some cases. And,
Some cases. And we've
these are
actually-
unclassified misdemeanors, and the guy's in jail.
Two people were sentenced to jail
Yeah.
for violating the town code. That you have to have supportive judges to do that. But
Yes.
we
Yeah.
have seen that. So
But I think they understand how, as the problem continues, it doesn't get resolved by letting these guys not pay the price. So you had, in these cases, these people were made to pay the price and,
Right.
and went to jail. And that just shows everyone. I guess it has a deterrent effect, in the community.
Sure.
So people say, oh, you can actually go to jail for this. It's not really worth it,
it's not worth it, sure.
So.
Right. So now animal control, I know that's one of your functions too.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that department, what it does.
Well, they patrol the areas looking for animals that are maybe ill or abandoned, and they also respond to calls because sometimes there's maybe a dog bite. They work with the shelter to house the animals and take care of them, and maybe have them adopted to the community. They're a small unit. They're very busy. They're on call all hours. They have night calls, weekend calls. It's a very challenging schedule, but I think they're very dedicated individuals, and they work very hard. And the man that we have running the department there is very professional. He brings an air of professionalism to the department that I respect, and he makes great suggestions and
This is
advises me.
Don Bamberg.
Don Bamberg, yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. He's been there
I'm very pleased to
for a
have
while.
someone with his skills and knowledge at the head of that department, because it really makes it much easier for me to focus on other things, and I know
Sure.
that department is run very well.
Now you also, as I mentioned earlier, oversee the fire marshal's office.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what that department does.
Well, the fire marshals, fire marshal approves all special events permits. She would also condemn homes that are unsafe, like the homes that you were talking about where children could get hurt. So those are some of her special powers, but they also do most of the commercial building inspections. So they look for fire safety issues at these buildings. They also, like when there's a party, they do the inspections for the tents, and they're also very involved in hazardous materials, and they're a big part of the U.S. Open that's coming up.
So the U.S. Open's a major event. That's June, I think, like 7th through 18th, something
Yeah.
like that. Now, your department's involved with that?
Yes, yes. Actually, the code enforcement and the fire marshals are working in tandem under the hazmat umbrella. The fire marshals have the fire suppression responsibilities, but most of our code enforcement personnel are trained as hazmat technicians. So they'll be working at the U.S. Open with the fire marshals. And that's under the leadership of Cheryl Kraft, who is a very knowledgeable fire marshal who has an exceptional historical knowledge of Southampton. And very often she's like an encyclopedia reference for things that are going on. And she's actually very instrumental in a recent marina issue that we had, that she sent out somebody who summons the marina for using a residential property as a commercial property. So, and this had been an issue for one of the neighbors for a long
Sure.
period of time. So she actually, with her connections and skill set, she was able to establish enough, information. I don't want to say probable cause, but enough that she could send somebody out there and summons the marina.
All right. Well, if somebody has an issue like that person who believed he was living next to a residential property and turned into a commercial property, but not legally turned into
Right.
commercial property, and now suddenly he's, breathing the fumes from the fiberglass and the dust.
Even if it's just storage, it's unsightly. you know?
Right, exactly, or heavy commercial equipment. So he calls, sometimes in that case, my office as well.
Right.
He calls your office. So that's just an example. So if somebody has an issue, so what would you say for them to do? To go to SOS or to call your office? Or
I would say go to SOS and then follow up with a call to the office. Even if you did it anonymously, you can say, I'm complaint number 900. Can you tell me if someone's actually looked into it? And, we won't know who you are, and if you want to remain anonymous, that's fine. If not, you can tell us who you are, and maybe I'll send an officer to talk to you directly, because maybe it's a deeper issue than on the surface.
now, what if you're a homeowner or you've rented a house here, and you want to know what's okay, what's allowed, what isn't allowed? Can I park my car in front of my property?
Right.
Can I have a bonfire on the beach? Where do you get that information?
Well, I mean, you can call directly to code enforcement or the fire marshals. If it's a bonfire on the beach, you'd want to talk to a fire marshal. But you can also look at the town code. That can inform you, so when you do speak to somebody at ordinance enforcement, that you understand what they're speaking about when they try to tell you what's allowed and what's not.
Do we have a simplified guide for homeowners or renters? Like, here's the basic rules that you should know about.
No, we haven't implemented that yet. But I'm sure if you look on the website, there probably are materials that could be used to help you. I know there's a frequently asked questions part of the site that I used when I was looking at the job and I was reading
Sure.
about the different departments that I would be supervising. So,
And most of it's
that's
common
simple.
sense, right?
Yeah.
Some of the things people might not be aware of, we have limits in terms of when you can work on your house. Not the homeowner themselves, but a private company is coming to build a deck,
Right.
something like that, and they want to start at 6 o'clock in the morning. They can't start at 6
Right.
o'clock in the morning. And they're supposed to have a license. Your contractor's supposed to have, be licensed to do that type of operation. We have rules regarding lighting, that
Sure.
the lighting is supposed to be directed where it's supposed to go, not up into the sky, where you have light pollution.
Right. You
It can
have,
affect other properties. We call it the dark skies
Right.
types of
Nuisance
laws.
lighting, or you have trespass lighting. And light should be shielded and facing downward. There are exceptions to the rule.
Right.
60-watt bulbs don't necessarily need to be shielded,
Right.
but a 60-watt bulb could also be a nuisance. So you really have to take all the factors
Right.
independent of one another.
We have laws about how many people can stay in a home
Yes.
based on the square footage of the bedrooms.
That's New York
number of
State code.
Right.
They have calculations based on square footage of how many people can be in a certain bedroom in the house.
And we have a
Totally.
general rule of 1 car per bedroom plus 1,
Yes.
but for rentals, we max that out at 4.
4.
So if it's a rental property, the total number of visible cars outside is 4. If you have a garage, that's okay. You can put more inside the garage.
Right.
But you don't want to see more than 4 cars.
And you don't want to park cars on the grass in the front of the house or on the side of the house in certain areas. You know, you have to be cautious. If you're parking boats, you don't want them to be closer than 10 feet to the property line for your neighbor's
Sure.
sake. Some properties, if they're waterfront properties, their front yard that faces the street is actually the backyard. So they'll store boats in those. So one of my concerns is that these boats are accessible to the street where children play and go on, you know, with their bicycle. And,
Sure.
you know, some of these boats are perched on precarious blocks, you know, and I worry that that could be a problem. And I think maybe we should have an ordinance that requires some kind of fencing if you're going to store boats in your backyard that faces the front of the street.
Sure.
In that case. So that's one idea that I've been thinking about for the safety of the community.
Sure. Well, I know most people, they want to be good neighbors. They want to comply with the laws. They might not be aware of all the laws.
Right.
I mean, you know, if they have questions about what laws may affect them, or if they have concerns of whether a property they're aware of may be not following the rules that are in place, they can certainly call your office.
Absolutely.
Or visit your office. So what's the number of your office?
It's 702-1700, 631-702-1700. And that'll get them to the general office. And there'll be someone there that they can probably pass them to that'll give them
Okay.
good information.
And they can also, again, if they want to use the SOS system, they should be able to find that through the town's website.
Right.
Or download the app on their
I
phone.
highly recommend the SOS system, and I'll tell you why. We have a small staff that's very busy. We have a lot of rental applications coming in, and they need to be processed. And as the phones are ringing and people are distracted, and you know there's cognitive drift during the process, then you know it's very hard for them to get those permits done in a timely fashion. Everybody wants their permits quickly. So if they used SOS more often and allowed us to distribute the work to the officers and contact them rather than use the phones, if they want to call us, we're there.
Right.
We're always there. But it would help me as a manager to get the process finished with the rental permits. You know, so
Okay.
I encourage SOS over all other things.
So I would say go to get to SOS, if even on your phone, go if you're Wi-Fi enabled,
Yes.
go to the town's website. I believe there's a link
Yes, there is.
that will take you to SOS, and it's just like looking at a web page, and you'll be able to enter all this information. And
Sure.
so, Steve,
Yes.
I want to thank you for coming
Well,
on.
thank you very much.
For the second time. You're
It's a
becoming a
pleasure.
regular
It's a
here on
pleasure.
Talk of the Town.
It's a
and
nice thing.
I know you'll have your hands full soon with the,
I look forward to
the
it.
crowds coming in for the summer.
Got a little
but-
dose of traffic this morning. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
So,
So, you're doing a good job over
Thank
there.
you.
Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work, and
I
thanks for coming
appreciate
on.
it.
And to all you watching, thanks for watching Talk of the Town. We'll see you next time.